Welcome to the Penny Bloom Podcast. Ain't another place that has got more bombast. Romp past your mom, dad's listening to Tomcats. Talking everything that make you sad. We don't want that. We're here to make you smile. Put your mind at ease. Peace, love, and bloom, and always praise Keanu Reeves. This what we about. Get some weed and now. We'll talk until we can't no more, and then we peacing out. Alright, let's go. Penny Bloom Podcast. It's the Penny Bloom Podcast. Penny Bloom Podcast. It's the Penny Bloom Podcast. Penny Bloom Podcast. Penny Bloom Podcast. Hello everybody and welcome in to the Penny Bloom Dispatch. We have a wonderful show ahead for you. We've got a little bit of story time. I'm going to talk about a destination wedding that I attended over the last weekend. We got our entertainment segment that's going to include some MCU announcements, a certain restaurant getting into the streaming service game, apparently, a bungling of a rollout for a new upcoming film, and some other fun upcoming releases. Joe's going to talk through some archaeology, some video games. I'm excited for that. We're going to head to sports thereafter, where I'm going to make a prediction for the Chiefs versus Ravens, go over Mizzou versus Murray State last night. College football's back, baby. Let's go. And then we're going to wrap it up with Album of the Week, and I'm so very ready. I'm Colton Robertson. I'm joined by Joseph George. What's up, homie?
Oh, what up, what up? Always a pleasure to be here.
Oh, and it is always a pleasure to have you. It's been a little bit since we did a dispatch, almost 2 weeks, as it was last Monday. How have you been?
Yeah, man, it's been we've had a lot of time to gather all this stuff, and it feels weird that it feels like such a long gap in the podcast time. But I guess it has only been a week, but much has happened, I guess, in these weeks. It's been a crazy jumble of everything, but now it has equalized. It's normalized all now, but I've been very curious on how the trip went for you and how all that went. Yeah.
It was awesome. You know, about last week, we left last Thursday for Gatlinburg, Tennessee. We were leaving for the Smoky Mountains. And I had a fantastic time. You know, it was for my girlfriend's sister's wedding. And frankly, it was the best wedding I've ever been to. It was so cool. It was so intimate. There was only like 30 people. I barely made the cut, you know, like that was, so there was an element to it that was just like, I was happy to be there at all, you know, and it kind of put me in this cool position where I got to observe my girlfriend's family in a context that I hope to one day see them in. You know, like, cause I've been to weddings with them, but I haven't been to one of their weddings with them. So it was an exciting time to be around them. And it was just really, really fulfilling, man. I'm already romantic and sentimental and stuff. So like weddings already get me going. It was the first destination wedding I'd ever been to. And that was really, really cool. I'd never experienced that, the traveling and, going to celebrate these two people, and frankly, sorry to anybody whose wedding I've ever attended. I don't think I've ever cared like that. You know, I don't think I've ever been in the way that I was on this one, especially considering that intimacy. Like I said, it was just an honor to be there, and Sarah is such a wonderful woman. I love her with all my heart. She's my girlfriend's older sister. She's, you know, it was just cool listening to everybody speak about them, Sarah and Will. They're who got married. And, you know, I remember when she brought Will around to the family for the first time and stuff, like, I remember meeting Will and being like, okay, cool, yeah. You know, he's a really good dude. He's a really good dude. And, I enjoy him a great deal, but there was this element to Sarah that ever since the first time I met her, which was like 3.5 years ago, almost 4 years ago, Emily visited home for the first time, after being down here for a couple weeks. We met in December of 2020. we hadn't been together long enough for her to stay over winter break at my house or anything. So she had to go back to St. Louis, and she FaceTimed me with her two sisters, with Angelina and Sarah, and I remember really, really, really wanting to impress Sarah. Sarah was like, she's always had this, and it's crazy to think about. She's the age I am now when I met her, and I didn't realize that until we were looking at older pictures, and I was like, wow, Sarah's growing up a lot. And Emily was like, yeah, she was 24 there. And I'm like, fuck. Man. I was like, no, what do you mean by that? No, but, she's just always had this self-possession to her that's really, really admirable. She's got an incredible work ethic and a determination to her that's, like, to hear all these people talk about her in such a loving and positive way. It was really, really cool. And, you know, and I'll always appreciate her for being an older sister that influenced Emily the way she has. So there was a lot of emotions. I got to do the music at the ceremony and the reception, which was very, very cool. I queued up the entrance songs. I queued up the songs where she walked down the aisle to. And then there was the culmination as it's wrapping up, you know, by the power vested in me, I'm building up a song, and it's slowly crescendoing to whenever they kiss, and I introduce Will and Sarah Prude, and wow! Yeah, no, it was really cool. One of the cool things about the weekend is that me and Caden, which is Emily's other sister's partner, we got to hang out a lot because our girlfriends were maids of honor. So, like, they're busy. They're doing things. It was one of those deals where we were like, we are not going to see our girlfriends until we lay down at night, essentially. We all got to share a room. It was a fun trip for the four of us because they live in Columbia. We drove down to Columbia, hopped in with them. Went the rest of the way with them. We stopped in Nashville last Thursday night, or just outside of Nashville in a place called Mount Juliet. And we stayed in a really nice hotel. I put us up because I'm not trying to. They were sending like really affordable options. I don't play affordable options when it comes to hotels. I'm like, you know, it still has to be affordable, but I'm like, I'm gonna stay somewhere fucking nice. I'm not doing that. So I was like, I will pay. It wasn't that big of a deal. My credit card had just rolled over. It was like $150. I was like, I got it. Don't worry. Yeah, so we wake up in the morning, they provided breakfast, it was lovely, we went downstairs, we ate in this like little restaurant area, it was cool, we were like, man, we got a couple hours to kill before we actually have to get on the road, before we have to check out. We haven't laid low in a little bit. How about we do that for now? You know, like let's just chill out for a little bit. Emily's like, yeah, you know what, I'm gonna hop in the shower, I'm gonna feel nice and clean, we were all gonna take our turns, we're gonna get back on the road. Emily steps foot in the shower, and then the fire alarm starts going off. And no. we were like, okay. Well, we were like, okay, we gotta go. Let's go. And she was ready. She was right there. We get out there. We walk down the stairs. We go outside, and ours takes us to the side of the building. We walk around the front, and like by the time we get to the front, people are like, it's over. We're like, cool, thank you. So we go back upstairs, and as we're rising in the elevator, we hear this like slow build up, this the doors open on the elevator, and it's just blaring. The fire alarm is still going, but not in the classic flashing style. It's just one constant beep. And I don't know if you know how fire alarms work in hotels, but the speakers aren't in hallways. They're in rooms. So we went in our room and we're like, okay, well, never mind, everybody get your shit, we're fucking leaving. So we'd planned on staying about another hour and a half, and then we had to go ahead and get the fuck out of there. And I got my words in on my way out. I was like, hey, so the fire alarm is not done. In fact, it's worse than ever, upstairs. So, you might want to see about that. But yeah, so
Damn.
that was literally the only hiccup the entire weekend, which is really, that says a lot about a destination wedding. Like, if that is the only thing across the entire weekend that I can point to and go, yep, and that didn't go as well as we would have liked, we had a pretty good fucking weekend. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
like, that was fun, and we made it to Mount Juliet. We were actually the first, or not Mount Juliet, we made it to Gatlinburg from Mount Juliet, about 3.5-4 hour drive on Friday last week, and we got there about an hour early, funny enough. So, you know, we really could have used that fire alarm not going off. Yeah,
Man, yeah. Like, well, at least it seemed that you were in a very beautiful part.
it was gorgeous.
Yeah, man,
was
that
gorgeous.
was the videos and pictures I saw. The bear was really funny.
Yeah, we did meet a bear. That was outside the rehearsal dinner.
Okay, rehearsal. That makes sense. I was wondering what was kind of going on there.
Yeah, that was
Or
the
like,
banquet. It was in a banquet hall for the rehearsal dinner. We'd just done the rehearsal. I didn't know I was doing the music until we were like ready to go outside for the rehearsal. Sarah was like, "Would you mind if you would doing this?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah. Cool. No doubt.
I'd be so nervous. I'd be like, I
was.
messed this up,
I was.
Oh man.
I could ruin I could at least make a noticeable impact. You know what I'm saying? Like, I could really change the way you perceive this. Mm-hmm. So like, we did the rehearsal, that helped me do the music. I got it down, you know. I was like, okay, cool. One thing I hadn't considered is that during the actual ceremony, the pause in between me playing music is a lot longer because they exchanged vows, and oh my god, they did so good. Sarah like won state in speech. So she's a really talented speaker and a really talented writer, and Will's really introverted. I don't hear him talk a lot, but he got me good. I was like, oh my goodness. Okay, Will. It was just beautiful. But the pause in between me was a lot longer. I was worried that my phone was going to like disconnect from the speaker. So I'm muting it and pressing pause and play on Spotify until it's time. I've got a song queued up. I got to go to that song at a specific time. And so like, it's funny if you look at pictures, everybody is sitting there like moved, and I'm still moved, but I've got my like phone in my hand like this. I'm like sitting there the whole time, you know, but,
I'm not messing this up. Yeah,
no, like, I'm not.
You were ready. You were ready.
Oh, I was. I was like, I will do anything for you right now. Okay. But, no, it was beautiful. You know, I definitely cried. Sarah stepped to like the top of the aisle, and I was like, oh, I didn't know I cared that much, you know. It was one of those. I was so taken up with all the responsibility that was coming up prior to the wedding. Me and Caden had to go get the catering. That was another big responsibility we had. For the reception prior to the wedding. Well, we left prior to the wedding. The reception's obviously after, but we had to go get Olive Garden, like 3 big boxes, 4 big bags, feeding 30 people. And that was fun. It was just it was about 45 minutes away, and we had to do that twice. We had to do that twice on Saturday before the wedding. So we drove 3 hours while we were down there. Me and Caden were joking all weekend that we were the pillars of the weekend. We were just kind of there, wherever you needed us, whatever you needed, we were doing it. You know, like people were coming up asking us questions, and we were like, we knew a weird amount about what was happening. You know, like it was kind of like we were really plugged in. You know, like Emily and Ange were like, what's the plan for tomorrow morning? like the maids of honor. What's the plan for tomorrow? Like, kind of asking each other, and Ange was kind of like, I don't really know. And me and Caden were like, all right, so here's the deal. They're going to the hotel tonight. Tom, father of the groom, is going to go pick them up, and then you guys are going to come back. They're going to do a hike after that.
Wow.
Yeah, so like it was just funny to be like that plugged in. It was funny. It was funny, but no, it was all in all, it was beautiful. I'm already super sentimental. I was riding a high from that for a couple days after. And then my serotonin levels just fucking plummeted. Like, I had an awful day Wednesday just because it was like the high had worn off, and I was like, oh man, back here, huh?
Reality.
We returned, but
man, I've never had a destination wedding ever, but that would, especially with people that you know, or like that are so close to you too, that would be like
right.
The
no, and that's what
ultimate,
was what was so cool, you know, like because I've been to 3 weddings with Emily for people she was celebrating. One of which I had no idea who they were. The other of which I was mostly familiar with them. You know, like we were down, you know, but like they were friends of hers that I only see once a year, maybe. I see Sarah multiple times a year, you know, and I've known her for 4 years now. I met her husband when she introduced him to the family. You know, like that's a whole other, like, that's like, it was a big fucking thing, you know? And so it was really refreshing to have like one-on-one time with, like Caden, who's like the same age as us, a couple years younger than us, but about the same age as us, and has been around for about the same amount of time as I have. Them and Ange have been together for 4 years as of a couple weeks ago. Me and Emily will be together 4 years as of a couple weeks from now. So like, been around just a little bit longer, but we've observed the same stuff. They have so many idiosyncrasies that are just, they are obviously sisters, you know, like they've been so similar, and we both got to observe their family and in this new context, and it was really, really fun, really, really exciting, and really refreshing to see all of it like that. So congratulations to Sarah and Will. Your wedding was one of the highlights of my year, frankly, if not my last 4 years. It was so much fun. I absolutely adored it. The reception was a blast. I got to MC the dances. I announced the first dance. I announced the father-daughter dance, and I announced the mother-groom dance, which was also super fun. Emily and Ange nailed their speech. We helped, we buffed it up on the ride down, you know, we were going over it, editing it, figuring out how they wanted to go back and forth and stuff. It was great. It was all in all just a brilliant weekend. The ride back couldn't have gone smoother. Shout out to Angelina, who drove the full 10 hours from Gatlinburg to Columbia.
Dang. Okay.
Which I did not. And then we were like, fuck it, we're driving the last hour and a half. Let's do it, baby. You know, like we were thinking about staying there, but might as well when it's been 10 hours.
Yeah.
And we made it back. We made it safe. And the wedding was a success. It was an overwhelming success. They're in Cancun now, the lovely bride and groom. So I hope they're having a lovely honeymoon. And much love to you guys. But yeah, that is story time. That was the wedding. It was such a good time. And I'm glad to have gone over it with you a little bit. Any questions or concerns for the class?
Well, I was just going to ask, like, the ceremony, like the destination, I guess, what's the visual kind of like, was it inside, outside?
It was outside. So all of it was in one place. Everything was in one place. Rehearsal dinner and stuff was off-site, but it was this beautiful cabin. I can't believe I didn't actually talk about this. This is going to require a little bit more than I thought. A gorgeous cabin that was up a mountain. Like, we had to drive 15 minutes up and down a mountain just before you went anywhere else. So like whenever I said that we had to drive 45 minutes, we're driving like 15 minutes down and then 30 minutes out, was kind of the idea. And that was kind of how it was if you wanted to get anywhere. There wasn't anywhere that was really that close. And so you walk in, and there's like 3 large long tables, a beautiful hearth, a fireplace, and gorgeous kitchen, and floor to ceiling windows lining the room that show you the mountains on all sides. Essentially, it was absolutely gorgeous. There were like 10 rooms in this house. Me, Ange, and Caden got to share one. We were privileged. Sarah looked out for us this weekend. It was very, very kind of her to hook us up, because originally the quote unquote seating chart had me and Caden staying with the groom and a couple of the groomsmen, which would have been cool for a whole other reason. But I think that Sarah recognized that me and Caden aren't exactly Will's first choice for who he's going to be spending time with the night before his wedding. So I think that kind of it just ended up working out. She got to be with her friends that she invited, whereas she spent most of the weekend with her sisters. So it was just kind of like that gave them that one-on-one time, and it gave us the time to respite with our love. So like it was good. It was good. But yeah, I mean, gorgeous. We got one room all to ourselves, which was really nice. We even had our own bathroom, which was huge. But so there's the backyard. You go through one of those floor to ceiling windows, and the backyard's where the ceremony was. There was a beautiful little path, chairs set up, a gazebo, and they got married right in front of the gazebo. But behind them, I have a picture. I'll send it to you. But behind them was the mountains. It was like if the photographer hadn't, I don't think the photographer could have possibly gotten a better end of the stick, if you will, as far as a job. Like that's just I think I sent you the picture of the view. I don't know if you can see that. That it might be a little blurry or bright. Yeah. That I'm standing in the gazebo when I took that. The one that they got. Wow. The one that they got married in front of. Like it's gorgeous. So like yeah, they nailed it, and Sarah, it was just so perfect for them as a couple too. Like it couldn't have been more fitting. And it was lovely. And so reception was, all right, everybody back inside. We served food. We danced on the little patio outside. It was a lot of fun. My knees and legs were sore for days from all the dancing. It was a great time. It was a great time. Sarah, everyone was coming up like, "Hey man, good job with the music." And I'm like, Sarah dictates everything. It is her playlists. I'm just hitting shuffle. I'm cueing stuff based on what the vibe is, but beyond that, it's all her, you know, like she made all the choices. Incredible taste Sarah has, but yeah, it was a great time. It was a lovely wedding. But we had a fantastic time. So yeah, it was very, very intimate, very, very close. The only traveling we ever had to do was me and Caden going to like Walmart for random items that we picked out. The wedding cake, actually, I left that out.
That's a big proponent.
Yeah, but crazy detail. It was, that part wasn't that big of a deal to Will and Sarah, or else we would not have picked out the wedding cake. You know, like that, to be fair, we just went to Walmart, picked out one of the little cakes, and it was like white with pearls on it, and we were like, that's perfect. But it was for pictures for when they cut the cake, you know, it wasn't really.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, it turned out really, really good. We only had to leave for that and for the rehearsal dinner where we saw the bear, which was cool. The bear actually got inside somebody's car too. Not somebody in our party, but there was a Jeep that didn't have doors. You're gonna get a bear in your car.
Gotta watch out for them up in the mountains. I don't know, that is worry number one. Just don't leave any food outside or anywhere.
Luckily, they were all black bears, which are, if you're gonna run into a bear, the ideal bear to run into, because they're the ones that if you get big, they get scared. You know, if you put your hands up and you growl, like they're like, oh God, you are terrifying. Now, I think it's brown bears. You got to run, get the fuck out of there.
I think it's either run or like just don't do anything.
Right.
like you just calm and whatever. You kind of
Yeah.
have to accept your fate that way, though. That's a little
Yeah,
scary.
exactly.
But
you got to really have your shit together to be able to do that. And then Grizzlies, you're just fucked. There's no fucking with that. Yeah.
But man, wow, that's
Yeah.
I'm jealous of the trip. I love the mountains. And a wedding in the
they're
mountains,
gorgeous.
it can't get any better than that. You know, that's
No, it literally cannot. Like I was like perfectly sober on Saturday night because like me and Caden and Em, like we all like weed, you know. We all like weed. So like, but I'm not a functional high. I can't like I can do it, but if I have a responsibility that I know I have to do, I'm playing it safe. I'm not doing it. So like, I was stone cold sober, but like I was elated. I had a serotonin high, a euphoric feeling that was just
the power
of love,
Yeah.
man. That was all it was. And it was lovely, man. It was a great time. And, it couldn't have happened for a couple nicer people. Sarah and Will have always been so sweet. They came down and visited. Well, they weren't even visiting for us, but I can't remember what they were doing a couple months back, but they hit us up and were like, "Hey, you want to grab some breakfast?" And we were like, "Yeah, absolutely." So like, it's just cool whenever she's got siblings who are in a much closer state of life to her or older to spend time with. Mm-hmm. Whereas Q's, like my little brothers are my little brothers, you know, like Q's away at college. He's not really interested in dating right now. And Griff is 10 years younger than me. He's just started high school, you know, like, so like, we're just in completely different stages. Whereas with Emily's siblings, I can be like, let's go grab brunch, you know, like it's a different stage. And like, it's really, really cool. So like, I've never had sisters either, and I feel like I've gotten them by proxy because of Emily, and it's very, very cool. And yeah, so I value Sarah and Angelina a great deal, and all of her other siblings too. We had just a fantastic time with her other little sister Eve. She's a wonderful, wonderful lady. She great kid. Our little brother Noah is fucking hysterical, about a year older than Griffin. But it's fun to be around a kid who wants to be around, you know, like, he wants to be us. So there's like this element where like he's kind of idolizing it, like, at least that's how it feels. Like he hovers into the room and he kind of hangs out for a little bit, and you know, he jokes with us, you know, like it's super fun. And then she's got her youngest siblings are Avi and Zeph, who are adorable. They're 8 and 7. And if there was any other part of the weekend that maybe had a little bit of a tough time, it was the 8 and 7-year-old.
Fair enough.
Which is to be expected. They were young kids, you know, like that's how it's going to go. It was so cute. We were trying to leave on Sunday, and there was like this little theater room, if you will. Like they had seats that reclined and everything all lined up. It was gorgeous. I didn't get to spend any time in there, but I would have loved to had we had more time. And a beautiful, beautiful TV. But Zeph takes us up. Zeph and Avi take me and Emily up to watch the Incredible Hulk cartoon from the 90s. I was like, you got taste, kid. You're going places.
Wow.
And we're like 45 minutes away from leaving. Like we're close. And Emily's like, all right, buddy, I gotta go say bye to everybody. And Zeph goes, I already did it for you. Zeph is like, I already said bye to everybody for you. And she's like, okay, cool, I guess we're set. You know, like, it was cute. You know, like, they live in St. Louis, so they just, like, really, really value the time they do get with Emily. And it's like, it was, like, the reason it was tough is because the center of attention is obviously not them. Like, the focus isn't, okay, well, we gotta spend time with Avi and Zeph. It's like, well, let's do anything we can to make the weekend easier for Sarah. So like they felt that a little bit, at least it seemed that way, and they took advantage on Sunday after everything, and were like, "This is our day. You spend time with us." It was cute. It was really cute. But yeah, all in all, lovely ceremony, lovely wedding. A bunch of speeches that made me feel very, very deeply. I haven't been to a rehearsal dinner in I don't know how long. I don't know what the normal procedure is for those, but like people stood up and made speeches about the couple, and whew, got me good. It was moving, but yeah, I'll go ahead and leave it there. We're killing a lot of time here with the story time, but
for good reasons.
It was yeah. It was a great time. It was a great time. So again, Sarah and Will, I wish you the happiest of a life. I hope it's a wonderful time, and I can't wait until I see you again here in a couple weeks for the wedding party. Since it was so intimate, they are throwing a little bit of a bigger celebration here in a little bit with more people, so it'll be a lot of fun. I'll be excited to see them again. But with that, we can go on and get into the news. Let's get into entertainment. We're going to start with something that I know Joe is happy to hear, as the Hollywood Reporter is saying. James Spader is set to return as Ultron in the Vision series coming in 2026. Now, this will be 11 years after Age of Ultron. How long have you wanted this for?
Well, I guess I haven't been a fan of Ultron since its release, but since I viewed it, it was just it clicked with me rather instantaneously, and just his voice. I feel like I only know him from The Blacklist, which was a show that my parents just watched. On like, so I never watched it myself, but my parents did, and I just heard his voice commonly throughout the house.
Smooth as fucking butter.
And I'm like, okay, so I've already known his voice, but then I heard him as Ultron, and then it was Marvel. I'm an MCU nut at the time, when I'm discovering Age of Ultron. So I mean, it was, everything was firing on all cylinders. And now that he's coming back, I just can't. I don't care. I don't care what it is. It can be the worst thing Marvel ever puts out, but just because he's voicing Ultron, I'm like okay with it. I hope it's not bad, but
yeah, they're in an odd spot right now. Apparently, the Vision series is going to be the conclusion of a trilogy of WandaVision, Agatha All Along Vision. That's kind of the goal here. Which is just kind of that story, that side of things. So we'll see. Obviously not much substance to how he'll be returning as Ultron. It could be as simple as he pops up in like a vision of visions, and he's, but I anticipate it'll probably be a little bit more. It'd be cool if it's some sort of coding thing that's like embedded within Vision that activates and.
Because there is that moment where Vision like connects with Ultron, and the I don't know, he kind of nuts. I don't know, is how a weird reaction from Ultron. But like it, maybe Vision downloaded. I don't know, could store him inside the stone. I don't know, something at the time, and then now it's White Vision and all. I don't know. There is some different dynamics going on there, but if they. I would kind of hate it if they're like, there was one loose straggler Ultron bot, that they didn't get just left on Earth or something like that. That was like, I don't know, just left outside of Sokovia or someone, I don't know. I guess they could go down that route where someone secured it and kept it under security, something like that. But I feel like it might just be a cameo appearance and that is it. It's not an actual return of Ultron.
Right.
It's not, I shouldn't be getting my hopes up too much, but man, I would love. Could be a what if, what if the Ultron that won comes in? I don't know if they're going that crazy, but who knows? We're going from WandaVision to Agatha and then to Vision. Agatha feels like it goes crazier than WandaVision, so I don't know how crazy we will get, but
and that's just a couple weeks away now. I think that starts
Agatha.
Yeah, September something, 14th, 15th, 16th. I feel like it's in that range, but yeah, we're right there. So we got some new MCU stuff coming along. But yeah, James Spader, I knew you'd be happy about that. Yeah. I had to get it in the rundown.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where would you rather have been surprised by this?
If it is just a slight cameo and just for like a Vision or something, only for like one episode, then yes. Because if it's in it feels like announcing it's kind of in like a larger.
Yeah, he'll be in the show. It's kind of like making an announcement of it makes it feel that way. Yeah.
So I hope they're not just getting my hopes up and being like, "Hey, watch the show," because James Spader is in it, and marketing is marketing. But
yeah, I mean, James Spader, he didn't come back to voice Ultron in What If. You know, so
yeah.
That does indicate to me a degree of a presence that he's agreeing to, not just kind of showing up, you know, because they have a voice actor who can be Ultron if they need it just to pop in, pop out. And maybe it was scheduling conflicts. Maybe that's the only reason he didn't voice Ultron in What If. But when it comes to animated shows, I feel like there's just a much more wider berth in terms of availability. So,
I mean, Jeffrey Wright is the Watcher.
Yeah,
so like
exactly, and we know he's busy. So like, yeah. So I don't know. I'm hoping it's a bigger capacity. I would love Ultron to be back in the fold, and could be exciting for the first time in a while. Because that between that and Fantastic Four, we got some set leaks of The Thing, which was cool. And I think that I think it's just sadly I think it's just a stand-in practical dummy for them to look at something. But it looks good. It's really if that's the basis of the model for the CG they're doing, I'll be very very pleased because it does look really good. But we can go ahead and move on from the MCU, and we'll head to the other. Let's see, the next billion-dollar franchise in the entertainment industry, which is Chick-Fil-A. Chick-Fil-A, for some reason, is wanting to launch its own streaming service. This was reported by Deadline. They're seeking to create family-friendly shows, particularly unscripted. They want more reality TV and you know, game shows, stuff like that. And it's being heralded by those within the reality television industry as a vitalization that the genre needs. It's just kind of branded content, you know, like they want to basically brought to you by Chick-fil-A is kind of the bag they want to corner a market in that regard. And I don't really have any strong feelings one way or the other about this besides awe. Just kind of like, that's not a story I expected to fucking read today.
Wow. It is actually kind of similar to what State Farm does on like Twitch and YouTube. They have like these game show, like these mini kind of game shows, but it's like Jake from State Farm with a bunch of different streamers and stuff. And it's like, why is this state, you know, I guess it's just someone has to fund it, you know, and at the end of the day, they're going to market themselves or whatever. So maybe it is just that it'll just be super marketed Chick-fil-A with game show and reality TV mixed in between. But yeah,
no streaming on Sundays. That's all, you know?
Yes, they close down the service on Sunday. That would actually be kind of hilarious if they did.
I mean, that would be a great bit. It would be a great bit if they committed to that.
Ready Player One, you know, kind of we're shutting down the Oasis on Tuesdays and Thursdays. You got to go outside. You can't watch TV. That'd be
No, so like that was, I don't even have a take really other than that being just kind of absurd. I thought that was just because they are particularly interested in unscripted reality TV and game shows, it makes it okay for me. If they were like, yeah, we plan on producing movies, I'd be like, well, maybe you probably shouldn't, you know, but like, you go off with the reality TV. I do not care. Like, I would love, frankly, a workplace comedy set in a Chick-fil-A actually wouldn't go that bad for me. However, you know that since it's produced by Chick-fil-A, it would all be kind of washed to be good and all. So like, there's a balance there, but I think there's stuff there that I will never watch that will be funny. So Chick-fil-A streaming service coming to a platform soon. I actually don't really see that ever getting off the ground either, but we'll see. I guess they have more than enough money to make it happen. But
I mean, if I get like a free meal every week because of this subscription, like if they throw something like that in there, maybe You know,
That's not. Yeah, that's.
I don't know. But I don't even know if that
they
was
can
part of the
certainly
plan,
afford it.
but-
They're like the highest grossing fucking fast food chain there is, and they're closed on Sundays.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, the line is moving. I mean, people are going to Chick-fil-A. That is true.
Yeah. So there was that. There was that. But we're going to get to some more exciting news and potentially even more funny. Coming soon, releasing on September 27th, is Francis Ford Coppola's passion project, Megalopolis, starring Adam Driver. And this movie does look pretty fucking awesome. However, the rollout for it has been absolutely disastrous. Between Francis Ford Coppola being a shitty piece of shit, an old loser, and the fact that they released a pretty kick-ass trailer. It was an awesome trailer, you know? And it got me hype. I was like, okay, this is cool. It starts with it's about Francis Ford Coppola. You know, they're banking on the auteur being the person who is selling you on this movie, which is cool. You know, they start with reviews of The Godfather that's overindulgent and, you know, all style, no substance. And they do that with Apocalypse Now. And I think it's funny that he thinks Bram Stoker's Dracula is the third one that people lump in with Godfather and Apocalypse Now. But, you know, it is what it is. And all three of these, you know, they have these rant reviews, and people are like, "Ah, man, this is exciting. This is actually a kick-ass way to start your trailer." The trailer's so cool. Frankly, the movie looks fucking awesome. But it goes all the way through, and then you see people online looking into the reviews, because they even credit people and they credit publications. And they go to those reviews and they're like, "This review is pretty positive. This person liked The Godfather. This person liked Apocalypse Now. This person liked Dracula. In fact, none of what I'm seeing here was in the trailer." The catch to this was that the reviews were either all fake or about different movies. Lionsgate pulled the trailer later in the day saying, "My bad." Essentially was like, "Yeah, we screwed that up pretty bad. It was not our intention." They said, "We offer our sincere apologies to the critics involved and to Francis Ford Coppola and America Zoetrope, the production company, for this inexcusable error in our vetting process. We screwed up. We are sorry." Now, what this indicates to me is that somebody didn't do their research.
Can it be as simple as that?
Well, no, I'm going somewhere here. And used AI to find it.
Oh no. Oh no, it's probably I think you just did it. You're right.
Yeah.
Oh no, because it is pulling real quotes.
It's pulling real quotes from other places. And for movies that came out at about the same time. The style versus substance thing that was said about Dracula was actually written about Tim Burton's Batman.
Oh no.
And they don't confess to that in this article by any means, but it's...
Oh, no. Because I was going to say, I would like to chalk it up to one person making the mistake, and then and then it's the whole company's like, "Oh, man, now that we know this, we'll take it down." But, the trailer, it starts that way. It's this had to be in the plan, for how the trailer was going to go, that we are going to seemingly bash Francis Ford Coppola at the beginning, but then just show that he's got the juice.
And the whole marketing for it has been so Francis Ford Coppola has been framing it as the critics don't want me to succeed. They don't want me to do well with this. You know what I'm saying?
Kanye West of Hollywood. Is this fair?
I mean, that would not. It's a sadly apt comparison. But. Yeah, the quote attributed to Saris, the critic that reviewed The Godfather, a sloppy, self-indulgent movie, is not to be found in his review. Vincent Canby does not appear to have called Apocalypse Now, quote, hollow at the core. He was mixed about the film. Roger Ebert, who is one of my favorite critics of all time, he did write something with the a triumph of style over substance in spirit. He said, the movie is an exercise in feverish excess, and for that, if for little else, I enjoyed it. So like, it was close, but it wasn't quite there, which indicates to me that it was something that was artificially finding quotes.
No. Yeah, that's not good. That's a really bad look. It's a bad look if it is just a human mess up in the first place.
Right,
But,
like that's just an oversight.
but now, I don't know. That makes it way worse. Like if you're gonna put this trailer out and make these claims, like you'd think you'd make sure that like these things were said about the movies.
Well, and it's so funny because he's been doing a whole critics don't want to see me succeed thing, and then like you go to these actual reviews by these people and they're mostly positive, which is very, very funny. It's extremely funny. And there's been a whole other slew of things where like people, he's caught on video on the set of Megalopolis, like touching extras and being up on them and stuff and kissing on them and stuff, and it's a really, really awful fucking disgusting pervy look. And so the thing is that he's clearly a detached, very rich, eccentric billionaire or millionaire, which, we get back to the Kanye West comparison, doesn't egomaniacal doesn't feel very like a stretch to say. But it all in all, aside from this god awful rollout, the movie has been so excruciatingly divisive at film festivals. Like if you go to the Letterboxd spread right now on the rating, it's like this on the bars. Like it's like there's as many 1-star reviews as there are 5-star reviews, and 2 and 3 and 4. Like it's all across the board, perfectly even spread with some in-betweeners. So like that's a sign that we are going to watch. Like I'm going to watch that movie. You know what I'm saying? Like that's a movie I have to know what's going on, and that's coming here in a couple weeks. So Megalopolis, after a disastrous rollout, hopefully will deliver on something exciting at the very least. And I love me some Adam Driver, so I'm ready for that. Aubrey Plaza's in it. It's got a great cast. I'm excited for it. So Megalopolis the 27th. Hopefully we get another trailer that's maybe accurate, but it was a great idea, just horrible execution.
Wow.
But yeah, let's keep the ball rolling. I don't know if you ever watched Ted Lasso.
I have not, but heard many of it.
Deadline reports that it will be back for a 4th season with Jason Sudeikis returning as the titular Ted, along with most of the main cast. Now, this sucks. This sucks really bad.
Oh, really?
The 3rd season, it's an ending. Like it's over. The show's over. They could have done a spin-off, but the thing is that the spin-off shouldn't have Ted Lasso in it. Like, and not to say that Ted Lasso dies or anything. He obviously doesn't, but his story is complete. Like, it's like, if they do something to get, because the premise is that this American football coach, like football, not soccer, goes to England to coach a football team, a soccer team, because the owner is trying to tank the team. She wants it to burn to the ground. Okay. And so she hires a football coach who doesn't know shit about the sport to coach her team. And it's all very after school specially. It's very sweet and sentimental and, preachy at points. But like, ultimately, I've had a great time with the show. I think the show's really good. The 3rd season was a little bit of a step down, but it was still solid. The show ended. Like it ended. The show's over.
Man.
And it's one of those things where like, it feels a little Mandalorian after season 2. For me, like, okay, well, we're just going to try to cash in on this thing, huh? That's kind of the goal here. It is what it is. Happy for Jason Sudeikis. He's pulled in as like a ton of Emmys. I like that guy a lot. I think he's really talented. I think he's really funny. He's Kansas City born and bred, so I love that. But it's just one of those things where it's like, do we need to keep doing this? Because there's other main cast members, or like at least one, who will not be returning because of scheduling conflicts. Because the show ended, so they agreed to do other things.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? I don't know how they will maintain the show in an interesting way that doesn't break what the end of season 3 was. Not to say that it's some sacred thing that can't be touched, but it's just like, what was the point if we're going to keep it going? That's kind of where it's at. Like, if you were going to keep the show going, season 3 should have been different.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it shouldn't feel like an ending. It shouldn't feel like, oh, well, this character's going there, and that's that. You know, like that's it. You know, so I'm trying to avoid spoilers for those who haven't seen Ted Lasso, because it's well worth your time. You should still watch the first 3 seasons, and I'm not going to write off season 4. The writing room is talented enough, and the people involved are talented enough that I'm sure it'll be solid. It'll just kind of be like whenever people watch Ted Lasso, whenever it's at 5 or 6 seasons for the first time, and season 3 feels like a fucking ending. I'm sure they'll go, how are there still 3 seasons of the show left? You know, because if season 3 is not the last season of the show, season 4 sure as shit won't be. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's how I look at it. So, it'll be interesting. I will tune in. I'm not that principled. But you know, it is what it is. I probably won't watch it week to week like I have previous seasons of Ted Lasso. I'll probably wait till it's all out. He'll listen to some reviews, see how it goes. But yeah, I mean, Ted Lasso, it's been a great time. It's been a fun time. It's been heartwarming. If you like sports and the spirit of sports, you'll like it. So like, it's worth your time. But season 4, I'm a little skeptical on, and I'm interested to see what it'll be. But all right, last thing for entertainment. Just a couple things here. I'm going to skip over some of the upcoming releases, or I'll just speed through them. We got the Superman documentary about Christopher Reeve coming up. It'll be out in cinemas on September 21st. One day only, September 21st. If you can, catch it then. But then it'll be on streaming platforms. Music by John Williams, an all-new documentary about the life and career of the legendary composer, is coming to Disney Plus on November 1st. And we officially got a first look and release date for the new Jurassic World movie, Jurassic World Rebirth, starring Scarlett Johansson, Mahershala Ali, Rupert Friend, and Jonathan Bailey, is coming July 2nd, 2025, the same month as Fantastic Four and Superman, the new movie. So that's a big month for blockbusters, and it's directed by Gareth Edwards, who did The Creator and Rogue One and Godzilla and all sorts of stuff. So there's that. Another thing that just hit Apple TV Plus, the director's cut of Napoleon.
48 hours, 48 hours long.
Yeah, that was a massive typo. It is an additional 48 minutes of footage.
Man, do we really need more? But maybe.
Well, that's the thing, is that Napoleon, like Ridley Scott, his director's cuts tend to be that good. That like this is the vision. It is obviously close to over 3.5 hours long now, which makes it not exactly what Apple wanted to do with its theatrical release immediately following Killers of the Flower Moon. Because they released within like a month of each other, or 2 months or something like that. So it was like, does Apple TV really want to roll out 2 3.5 hour films right back to back? So no, like it got edited down. The idea is that, and from people I trust, this movie is better. 48 minutes is a lot of time. That redefines a movie. So like, that's an entire act. You know, like that can really change things. So I will be checking it out. I haven't yet, but that'll be there. And then lastly, I went and caught a movie in theaters earlier this week called My Penguin Friend. Me and Emily watched the trailer. It's cute. It's got Jean Reno in it, who you would have seen in the first Mission Impossible movie. The premise, it's based on a true story about a penguin from the Patagonia, Argentina region, swimming and getting separated from his flock of penguins and finding his way to the coast of Brazil, 5,000 miles north.
Dang.
and this was on their regular cycle. You know, like it was June. He swims up, finds this guy. He got separated, so he's real sick and ailing. The guy heals him back to health, and then come December, he returns to Argentina with his flock. The guy's like, man, I'll miss my penguin, but it is what it is. You know, like, poor guy. But I hope he's okay, because he doesn't understand the cycles of penguins. He's just kind of like, oh, my penguin's gone today, you know, like that's just kind of how it is. The next June, the penguin comes back to him. Doesn't go with his flock, like it goes back to, and and so like it's about the story of this guy and his penguin. It's super cute. Wow. It's heartwarming. It's not like a masterpiece by any stretch of the imagination, but it is very, very cute and well worth your time. Yeah, My Penguin Friend.
I had no idea
of
the penguin cycles at all. Like you said, it's basically
I didn't
true story. Like this is
true story. Yeah, and like it's really, really heartwarming, man. Like the people who are studying the penguins are like, wow, this one's different. This one's interesting. Why is he so cool to interact with us? You know, like why is he like, you know, he's letting us pick him up and he's letting us pet him and stuff. Like that's not normal. And it's because he spends time with humans during his off season, essentially. You know, he's like, he kicks it with humans. So like, My Penguin Friend is really, really cool. It's a fun, cute movie. I mean, it got me to tear up like 6 times just because I'm a sucker for animals and them being cute. Yeah. So, but that concludes entertainment. Thank you for bearing with me. I know that was a lot. We did have 2 weeks of stuff, and I had to breeze through the ending there. But let's go ahead and kick it with archaeology and video games for Joe here. We can start with those video games, if you will.
That'll be quick. Video games are pretty quick. I was just going to do Star Wars Outlaw and kind of just do a little rundown on that, but just this morning, the Batman was rumored to have some video game in the works in that universe. And it was behind a paywall. Luckily, someone on Reddit kind of spilled the beans a little bit and gave the people the article, and it revealed that it was more closely tied to the Penguin TV show rather than the Batman just in general, and that it's a close collaboration with the TV show. So it's still very early, just a rumor. So not really sure how much substance it has. But any Batman video game I'm going to be a fan of because I love those Arkham games back in the day. And then now with the best Batman ever created, any video game with Pattinson, with that Batman, I'm going to be okay with. So yeah, and then that's it for Batman. And Outlaws, just recently released and has people have been finally playing it. And there's a new Star Wars movie, quote unquote, that I got to watch here soon. If I don't play the game watch all the cutscenes and everything. And it had a little bit of a shaky start, as kind of all Star Wars games do. And there were a lot of bugs and kind of things at first. But someone gave a kind of a funny analogy that kind of made me look at it a little bit differently. And it's like they're making Red Dead Redemption, basically, an open world where you can go anywhere and you're an outlaw. And on Red Dead, you have a horse that you can travel around on, and a horse it's a horse. You can't go speeder speeds like a Star Wars speeder. So the world can take time to load in as you go around on your horse. But a common problem on the speeders is that people were just zooming so fast that they had to load in massive worlds so much, and you're just going across greater distances that it was just very, very computationally intensive at the begining. But now they've released a bunch of patches and stuff where it's all good and getting a little better and more smooth. And there's a really the crime syndicates are involved pretty heavily in here, the Pikes and stuff like that, which is really, really cool. And that's why I want to see this story to see if it connects at all with like Book of Boba Fett or anything like that. But yeah, that's pretty much all the news on Star Wars Outlaw. Not really anything new, but just I might finally actually get into gaming again. And Star Wars it's gotten me. I don't know. I've played pretty much every Star Wars game to come out since.
Right.
So okay, and yeah, that's all for gaming. For archaeology, it's pretty quick here too. I just wanted to make some corrections for Stonehenge, or for last week when I talked about it. I only kind of talked about half of the story with Stonehenge, or half of the debate of how the stones actually got there. Half of the story that I told is the general accepted story amongst like just archaeologists and Wikipedia, if you're to go by that as the general story. But there's a lot of research that's been done where these stones could have actually traveled through like glaciers whenever the just ice age happened, and there was a massive glacier drift that happens, and just carried down by the ice itself. And then when that ice melted, the stones were already kind of there.
Washed up on the shore, sort of thing.
Washed all the like this glacier went all the way from Scotland all the way down to where Stonehenge basically is. And there's this it's a coincidence that it lines the end of the glacier kind of lines up exactly where the location of Stonehenge is. And I mean, they still would have to take the stones for, some of the stones are still guaranteed to come from about 100 miles away, but the super long distance one from Scotland might have just kind of been washed down on a glacier drift. And so maybe there wasn't the the need to act, or they didn't need to move it that far. But the rabbit hole kind of goes way deeper in Stonehenge than I realized. And I credit it to like 2500 BC whenever I said, and that's what we know as Stonehenge, the stones set up. But the actual location itself is thought to have gone back to like 8000 BC, whenever it was just like natural and no stones were there at all. It was thought to be like a really big tree, I guess, was there, and like ceremony and ritual purposes. They found the remains of 63 different people there, and like men, women, and children. No like discrimination, just kind of all people, all kind of walks of life. And around like early, like 3500 BC, 4000, like they thought it might have been like this burial site for like the elite back in the day. But then it changed into a cremation ritual around the time that we know Stonehenge, the stones to be there. There's a lot of cremation dust found in like on certain stones, which I had no idea of. I thought it was just kind of an astrology clock sort of thing is in my head what I've known it as, but apparently there's a lot more that goes behind it.
They're like, no, we burn people here, man.
Yeah. So that's kind of just the little update on Stonehenge, and I'm still kind of going down the rabbit hole to learn more, because it is a crazy kind of evolution of the monument. There, if you look at the Wikipedia page, it starts at like Stonehenge, the original like 8000 date, and then it's like Stonehenge 1, Stonehenge 2, and then Stonehenge 2 has Stonehenge 2-1, Stonehenge 2-3, Stonehenge 2. It's a lot of different evolutions, but
goes deep.
But yeah, and looking through Stonehenge, this is the part that you might have heard about. I wasn't sure, but I have never heard of this before, and I stumbled upon the Georgia Guidestones. Have you ever heard of the Guidestones in Georgia?
I have not.
Okay, then cool. It was America's kind of attempt at making our own Stonehenge, very recently, and it 1980. Not like a ancient, back in the day America. I guess it would only be 1700, so not ancient. But like we did this sort of recently, 1980, and it was, I guess, kind of up for a little bit, for quite some time without any discourse. But then around like 2008 and on, stuff got a little shaky. But all it is granite slabs, kind of like Stonehenge, and there's 6 of them. And they all have these 10 guides, kind of like 10 commandments of sorts, written on them in all different languages. And it's not the 10 commandments of any religion. These were created completely for this project alone. And it sounds okay at first, but then you read the first one, and it's maintain humanity under 500 million in perpetual balance with nature. The first one is the human population should not be over 500 million people. which is interesting. And
especially if it was erected in 1980s.
yeah, and this is where the discourse sort of happened around 2008. People thought that like this was made. You don't really make these big of stones and put this in writing and whatever if you don't think something's like. People thought that this was like a doomsday, like the world was going to end because of these commandments, because it wasn't known who commissioned this. Who paid for it? It was this like a pseudonym, a guy like R.C. Christian that we didn't even know who it was, and then the government like unveiled it. Like a senator was the one to do the unveiling, so it felt just very attached to the government. And there's another, like some of the ones they're like guide reproduction wisely, improving fitness and diversity is the second one, and there's. I don't want to get too far into the weeds, but a lot of the connections are like Nazi groups, and if you can tie where the money comes from, it's like Nazi groups, and then guiding reproduction wisely has a very different.
Yeah, that doesn't sound great.
Yeah, and yeah, it's really weird, these 10 kind of commandments that were up, but I don't know if I want to say but people were fed up with it. In 2022, they detonated. Some person planted an explosive and blew this thing up. And because they were like, yeah, it's too weird. We don't know where it comes from. The money's very weird and ties are very weird. These 10 guides are just also kind of icky. And they decided just to shut it down. They were going to restore it and rebuild it, but they were like, you know what? Let's just
blow this fucker
let's
up.
Actually destroy it for good. But it was some activists that it was spray painted and graffitied on in the past, but never intentionally wanted to be destroyed. But But yeah, so that was kind of a crazy where you have Stonehenge that might have been as old as 8,000 BC, and still standing even today. But we try to do one in 1980, and humans are already
40 years old.
We got to blow this one up. This is terrible. And the sad part is that they tried to have like astronomic features like Stonehenge, where Stonehenge lines up with the solstices and stuff like that. But the only thing they did is they drilled a hole in one of the stones that like points to the North Star. So like they know where the North Star is, which that's kind of the first thing you learn. I don't know. It's like the most simple thing. And then there's a slot that's drilled through to mark whenever noon like passes somehow. It's a horizontal. I don't even know how it makes sense, but someone compared this one as like it's like an abacus compared to Stonehenge's like is an actual functioning computer. The more modern one somehow is less impressive. But yeah, it was a crazy kind of wow. I didn't even know we attempted to kind of do this, and it was in Georgia, I guess. It kind of makes all the things are coming together now. Where
a little bit.
But yeah, kind of our own version of Stonehenge that did not go well. But I didn't want to end it on a bad note. I kind of wanted to end it on a better note, on a monument that is being built that I'm kind of behind, and I thought is a really, really cool idea. And it's called the Time Pyramid. It started construction in 1993, and it's very simple actually. It's this little itty bitty town in Germany that was founded in like 790, and they were celebrating their 1200th anniversary. And to do so, they hired an artist to make a monument kind of up above the town that would celebrate the 1200 years of the town. And what this artist decided to do, Manfred Laber is his name, is they're going to place one block, and these blocks are pretty big. They're about like, I think like 15 feet high or so, and 6 by 6 feet, I think is kind of how big they are. And they're just concrete blocks. And they're placing just one every 10 years. Every decade, a new block is placed, and they've only placed 4 so far. The 4th block went in 2023, and the idea is that it's just 8 by 8 on the bottom, and then it's 6 by 6 stacked on top of that, 4 by 4 stacked on top of that, 2 by 2, and then there's your pyramid. It makes up total is 120 blocks, so that it can be another 1,200 years that it won't be completed for. So the town has been, it's been around for 1,200 years, but now this monument will take another 1,200 years to finish.
That's pretty cool. I like that.
Yeah, so I thought that was pretty cool, and the artist even said, he was like, this is my initial design, is just this simple pyramid, but they said in 1,200 years' time, technology might be completely different, where they might just be able to stack these blocks however they want, so he said, you don't have to actually stick with my design, but what he said to stick with is just the one block every decade, and then new decisions, and because if you do just stack these blocks and you do follow his design, it might topple. It's not going to be the most sturdy thing, and it will kind of have to be figured out. But we have a lot of time to figure it out, I guess. Like people will have decades before they even place one more block. So the first row won't even be done for 640 years total for the first row. So, or first layer. So I thought that was just a pretty cool kind of monument or kind of thing that will be around for a long time. But yeah,
that is cool. So, we'll have to get an update on the 2024 block whenever that goes in.
Yeah, we gotta. I don't know, maybe a trip out to what's this? Wending, Germany, or maybe Wending. I don't know, W's or V in Germany. I don't know, but
Wending.
Yeah, Wending, Germany. We might have to take a trip out there and see the block go in. But yeah.
Yeah, I'm in. I'm there.
But yeah,
I'm so down.
That's I guess archaeology in quotes. Future archaeology for that one. And one that's already gone.
That counts. That counts. Kick-ass. Then we're gonna do some sports, and then we'll do our quote unquote on the spot this week for our album of the week. But sports is simple. It's not going to take me very long. The Royals. We're from Kansas City, so most of my sports coverage is actually going to be pretty local. The Royals took the lead in the AL Central and promptly lost it. Yeah, it was we took the lead, lost to the Guardians a couple days ago. In a close game, we went up pretty good, and it came to bite us in the ass. But and then the same thing happened last night when we took on the Astros in the first game of the series. We were up 3-2 after a huge seventh inning. We knock in 3 runs, base clearing double by Isbell, and we go up 3-2. It's like, hell yeah, here we are, we're up. And then we give them the lead back, and we just can't cover it. We can't recover. So our bullpen was on a roll during that Guardian series, and then it just kind of fell apart within the last couple days, which it happens. That is our weak spot. We need to get that patched before the playoffs, because we're still looking good. We are, regardless of if we win the AL Central, it does seem likely we make the playoffs.
I hope
obviously
not hurt as well. I don't know that the kind of the play where I don't know his wrist just went the wrong way, and I haven't even seen any updates or if they've released anything. But
Pasquantino, he's good, man. I like Pasquantino. He's a talented guy. So yeah, I'm hoping he's all right. But yeah, we're looking good. Obviously, rough couple of games in a row, but if we can recover, get the Guardians lose a couple games, we beat the Astros the rest of the series, we should be cool. But aside from that, last night I was slipping back and forth between the Royals game and the Mizzou football game to kick off the college football season. We put the work on Murray State, which was to be expected. We beat them 51-0, and it was an exciting time. It was just a lot of fun to watch us, 11th ranked. It's nice to see our little number next to our name and the score get run up and everything go our way. Do you know what the over/under was yesterday for the betting for how many points we would score?
I did not. I didn't hear.
I don't know how Vegas does it, man. 52.5.
Dude.
And not to mention, it was 48-0. We were on the 3 with like 2.5 minutes left, and it's 4th and goal. And we were like, let's fucking go for it. Let's do this thing. And somebody does a false start. We back up 5 yards and have to kick a field goal. So it could have been 55-0 to go with the over, but we ended up settling for a field goal and getting a 51-0 for the under.
Oh, dude, man. Vegas, they have the Westworld fucking massive AI computer.
I don't know how the fuck they do it. I don't know how the fuck they do it. But yeah, no, it was a good first game of the season, particularly for it was exciting to see Luther Burden the third kind of he scored the first touchdown of the game, and it was like, all right, there's a reason he's like the best player in the fucking country. He's fucking cold. Love to see that. It was nice to watch Brady Cook get a few good reps in at quarterback. Obviously, he's much better on the dot than he is in the deep game. I noticed last night that he overthrows pretty much everybody if he goes deep, which if you're going to have a problem when it goes to the deep game, it should be overthrowing. It shouldn't be underthrowing, which is good. But it is something he needs to refine before we can get the deep game going for Mizzou. So, yeah, but we put the work on Murray State. It was a fun game to watch. 51-0, hard to complain, and I'm ready for this football season. I'm ready for some college football, and I'm so ready for football that it's time for our first pick of the NFL season. Now, obviously, we do this on Fridays. We do Dispatch on Fridays, which is where I will do NFL picks. But there's Thursday night games. It's going to be a little bit of a difficult thing. So today I'm doing the first Thursday night game of the season. That's all I'm doing, which is the Chiefs versus the Ravens. I'm from Kansas City. Go ahead and guess who I'm going to pick. But next Friday, we have a Friday night game next Friday. So I will be picking that game next Friday. I will be picking Sunday's week 1 games next Friday, and I will be picking the Thursday night game from week 2 next Friday. So today is the only week I will ever be picking one game. I will typically do a full section of every pick. I won't go into every single one. I won't even really go into this one because it's Chiefs versus Ravens. I'm going with the Chiefs. I want the Chiefs to win. And I have faith that they would do. We lost the opener last season against the Lions. But I don't know. I think because of that, I just don't bet against Patrick Mahomes, man. Like, it's just not safe to do so. And I think that he, especially given that we did lose last season's opening game, he's a fucking psycho. So, like, I don't think he'll let that happen again, is kind of the way that I look at it. Regardless of how, like, even if it's, Lamar Jackson's going off, Derrick Henry's in the Baltimore backfield now, like, they got a good team. They stacked up a little bit, but we're the Chiefs, it is the top 2 teams in the AFC though, like, these are the 2 best, if there's anybody to worry about, it is the Ravens.
I hope our confidence just isn't too high. I think that could be kind of our only problem is we think we're just going to run through everybody again. We're going for the 3-peat. I feel like everyone's mind is made up on the Chiefs. Like, everyone's following Mahomes to another Super. They're ready to go. But I hope they're smart enough to realize that every game matters. And that this game does matter. But man, I don't know. I'm excited to finally get into football again and see. Because man, he's just a. Whether you like the Chiefs or not, you might really hate him, actually, but you can't deny how.
Yeah, a lot of people do.
Yeah.
Dude, he's he's the best football player alive right now. Like, there's just kind of like, and there's doubt to be had by people who hate the Chiefs, but like, it's just, I can't blame you guys for being tired of watching a team win. I've been there. I did not like watching the Patriots win. I did not like watching the Warriors win. I did not like Tom Brady. I did not like Steph Curry. But we've got one of those players now in Kansas City, and I'm going to take advantage of it. I'm going to root for him. So, yeah, I can't blame anybody for being annoyed. However, I couldn't give less of a fuck. We keep winning. Stay down, losers.
Yeah. Sorry.
But,
sorry.
Yeah, sorry about it. Yeah, not at all. It's a great time, I love that we have an annual parade. That's fun. That's it. Not everybody can say that. So
might as well just make it a holiday. A Kansas City holiday at this point. But
exactly. No, but that's the thing, is that if there was a year over the next few that things were going to start heading downhill, it was last year, and they did. That's insane. last year things started heading downhill for us, and we won the fucking Super Bowl. So like, I think we're fine. We filled in the holes that we had even, you know, like, obviously our wide receiving core could use a little work. We ended up cutting Kadarius Toney, which frankly not upset about. But we did sign Juju Smith-Schuster back, which is interesting. So ultimately, you know, he's far past his prime now. It's been about 6 years since he had his breakout season, but like, it's Patrick Mahomes, man. Like we got rid of Tyreek Hill and we've won 2 Super Bowls since. You know what I'm saying? Like we're good. You know, we're good. That's the other guy that people would argue, if there's another best football player alive, it's Tyreek Hill, and we had him. We won a Super Bowl with him, let him go, and we won 2 more. So like,
oh man, I can't wait for his documentary. It's gonna be unbelievable. You know, by the time he retires. But I'm glad I'm witnessing it though. I'm witnessing this era of football. But
yeah, so it's a safe bet week to week that if the Chiefs are playing, I'm going to pick the Chiefs. It's just kind of a principle thing. I'm not going to bet against them. I recognize that we are not going to go undefeated. It's very unlikely. In fact, if there is a game on our schedule that I'm the most worried about, it probably is week 1. You know, it probably is the Ravens. But I think we're going to be good. I'm not worried about it. So, Chiefs versus Ravens, my first pick of the season, Kansas City Chiefs, baby. Let's ride. I'm ready for it. Now, if you would, stick through these plugs, and we will go ahead and do it on the spot after. Head to Twitter, follow @PennyBloomPod for anything we might be doing. We are only weeks away from the beginning of Death by Television, our new television podcast where we will be covering The Penguin on Mondays to connect it back to that Batman video game we were talking about earlier. We are doing Fulcrum, a Star Wars podcast on Wednesdays, our Star Wars rewatch podcast, where we are doing Rebels right now, and it's a lot of fun. You got to go check that out. We're about a month and some change away from the beginning of the Cinementalists, where we'll be doing Star Wars live commentaries and then a Halloween project and then all sorts of stuff. It's going to be a lot of fun covering movies over there. So, but all of that's filtered through @PennyBloomPod on Twitter. You need to follow there to know what we're doing. Let's see. You can follow me on Twitter @Coro_Bloom, CORO_Bloom. I use that more than I do the Penny Bloom podcast Twitter. I mainly use the Penny Bloom pod for updates is primarily it. And I actually use my Twitter account for a lot of that too. So you ought to follow both of them if you're going to be like, I started a couple months ago, our numbers were heading down pretty hard and House of the Dragon helped, but we're August. We don't talk about August. I was like, you know what? Maybe I realized people like the personality behind podcasts more than they like the podcast itself. So I started tweeting from my own account, and I surpassed the amount of followers that Penny Bloom has in like a matter of days. Like it did not take time at all. And I was like, okay, well this sucks. I have to start being a personality, not just hiding behind a podcast. So, and it stalled out a little bit, but it's still, it's fun. I like it. But, yeah, so Coro_Bloom @PennyBloomPod, all of those you can follow there. Leave a 5-star rate and review wherever you might be listening and download. We are currently pausing on Patreon content for now. We're unfortunately not doing video, but when we do get video back up for Dispatch, it will be Patreon exclusive. And in the meantime, if you do want to support the podcast for $1.50 a month, you can support us. All that money goes back into making sure I can put this podcast on because it costs me money and I don't make any off of it unless it's over there. So yeah, 5-star rate and review wherever you might be listening. Share with a friend. We'll be back next week for more Dispatch. But let's go ahead and do album of the week for our on the spot. What is your album of the week?
I kind of have a pattern for my albums where I know one song, but I have not listened to the greater album. And this is a group I needed to desperately do that for, and it's The Neighborhood. And it's their debut album, I Love You. And the song in particular that I knew was Sweater Weather. It's been, I don't know, just maybe since 2013 when this did come out. I don't know.
Yeah, that was a big deal then.
Man, yeah. I mean, I've just been, it's kind of it was actually the only song in the album that I've ever, that I did know. So every other song was completely brand new. And it was, I mean, I knew I already liked The Neighborhood, some of their future stuff, but I've never listened to this album, and it was very, very nice. I liked Obviously Sweater Weather, but the first song, even How, is really, really good. And then Flawless and Female Robbery were kind of my other favorites there. But I didn't, there wasn't one on the album that I was like, ugh, I don't like it. It's a nice playthrough, the whole thing. So the Neighborhood for me. And
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going with one of my favorite artists of all time, an album that I was very familiar with, and I actually saved it for today because today is its 59th anniversary. It was released on August 30th, 1965. Bob Dylan's Highway 61 Revisited. Tons of great songs here. Like a Rolling Stone is an iconic track. You've almost certainly heard it. It's where the namesake of the upcoming biopic is from, A Complete Unknown. That's a lyric in Like a Rolling Stone. And then Queen Jane Approximately is utterly brilliant. Highway 61 Revisited, the titular track, incredible. But what might be one of my few favorite Bob Dylan tracks of all time is Desolation Row, which is a lengthy one. This is 9 songs, 51 minutes. So the album as a whole, but Desolation Row is 11 minutes. It's a big one, a big track, and it doesn't miss for me. I think it's an utterly beautiful work, and that's what I always love about Bob Dylan, is that it's always short albums and song in the track list. But they're always like 45 to 50 minutes, and you're like, oh, so every song's like 5, 6, 7 minutes. And I love his songwriting, and Highway 61 Revisited is potentially his best work. Might not be my favorite of his, but it's undoubtedly just at kind of the peak of his musical powers. So Bob Dylan's Highway 61 Revisited. And that concludes this episode of the Penny Bloom Dispatch. We will be back next week with more for you, and we would be honored if you would join us. I was Colton Robertson. I was joined by Joseph George. Thank you very much, homie.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure to be here.
Oh, and it's always a pleasure to have you. And remember, peace, love, and bloom. And go listen to a couple good albums by The Neighborhood and Bob Dylan.